is now watching us on Boston Praise Radio and TV, because for the almost 2 years that he's been watching us at 9 o'clock, that's the end of his.
Right.
And when I'm home,
He misses everything.
right. So when I'm home, what I do is on Saturdays, if I wake up, I put Mamleo on the TV screen and just let it sit there. And I get it looks good. It's a good broadcast. But Deco and others who do not know how to do that, they miss it. Now, one of the answers to this could be us purchasing an app, and so that people just bring that app up on their phones and they can just listen to us that way. I don't want an app. I don't need an app because I can bring up our webpage on my phone,
Right.
or Simple Radio, all the other apps. But this will be our app. The problem with that is that apps you have to pay you have to pay to have it produced, and then you have to pay a monthly fee for it. And I'm trying to save some money, so maybe somebody will send us a check for an app. They cost $30 or $40 a month, in addition to having them created.
So that's $4,000 a year.
No, only $30 a month.
Oh.
So,
30.
was it Latin or Brighton that you went to?
It wasn't Brighton.
Why do
I
you say,
actually did go to Brighton.
Why do you say it like that? Our basketball team was better than yours.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
Did you play on the team too?
On
Because
the
I was
basketball
told by your coach. Your coach came to me. He said, "I listened to Ron Bell." On
Which
Boston
coach
Praise.
are you talking about?
The coach,
The
your
one that died?
No, your basketball
So-
coach, and he said,
My basketball coach died.
"I know, but
When did you talk to him? I didn't even know.
before he died, I
Okay.
can't talk to him once he's dead. So before he died, and he said, and I think it's important for people to know the truth. So he said he really wasn't academically prepared for Latin, but we needed his athletic capabilities, so we brought him in. I'm sorry, I had to say that. The truth is there.
Okay.
I didn't play basketball. They brought me.
So
in for
what are we talking about this morning? I'm not going to respond to that.
You're not going to respond to that?
Nah. I'm
Okay.
not.
Because my wife told you, or someone told you, no more yellow bus jokes. You can't, because you're gonna people.
So what's the topic again?
Okay. The topic is the Boston City Council.
Wow.
Why do you say it like that?
Because it's like it's fire down there. It's a lot of...
It's more than fire.
What can be more than fire?
There's a lot of infighting going on there, and but you know, some people act like this is the only time when there's been fire there.
Right.
When Dapper O'Neill was there was a fire every time he spoke.
And Kelly.
And Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
They said, a newspaper article said that Dapper O'Neill, when he spoke, everybody really listened to him, and he was one of the highest vote getters. But they said he never got a law passed at the State House, and he never got an ordinance passed at City Hall. He wasn't doing that. He was just using the platform to get things done for people so that they would vote for him and keep him in office. And there's a movement afoot now that's been in the papers to remove Jim Kelly's name from a bridge, and also to strip off Dapper O'Neill's name from one of the council chambers. One of the rooms is named after Dapper O'Neill. And a couple weeks ago, Tanya Anderson, city councilor, stood up and made a very impassioned plea for people to come together and work together. And then this last week, we had a situation where Julia Mejia a person was making allegations against her, which I don't want to go into the details of the allegations, but they were making allegations against her. Somebody actually called in. Let's see who this person is. Caller, go ahead. You're live on the Ron Bell and Pastor Franklin Hobbs broadcast.
Peace. Good morning. This is Jamal. How you doing?
Hey, Jamal. How you doing, sir?
All right. I wanted to call in this morning because Reverend Hobbs got me hungry. Y'all was talking about roti, which is one of my favorite things in the world.
Do you eat roti?
As much as and often as I can.
Okay.
I have never had roti. And
Man,
What is
astronaut.
roti? Is
don't
that?
know
You have not lived your life.
No.
And-
I know what it is. Is that with the meat inside of the? Yeah, I know what it is. Okay.
Listen,
Yeah,
first
my
of all,
son gave me a whole bunch of them. Yeah, go ahead.
listen. So Hobbs explained it a little bit wrong.
Yeah, help me out. Help me out.
Yeah, it was a good kind of American explanation of it.
To the best I
I'm like, you
could.
know, multiple people do it, not just Trinidadians, although at least here in Boston, the best roti I know does actually come from a Trinidadian woman. But Jamaicans have roti. A lot of people have roti. Franklin just described it earlier as kind of like a burrito, which is, a good general description, except the outside, that skin that he talked about,
Yeah.
that's it's not really a tortilla. It's more closer to the Indian thing of naan.
Right.
So if you
What?
ever ate the Indian food and you've got the naan bread,
Nam bread.
yeah, naan, Naan is
Okay.
how you spell that.
Okay.
And then when he talked about some of the things that go inside of it, yes, you can get a beef one, a chicken one, you can get a shrimp one, whatever inside, and not just the potatoes, but the green beans,
Yeah.
the chickpeas.
Yes.
If you get the sweet pumpkin or squash,
Yes.
you get the hot peppers.
Yes.
And as he did say, it really is a meal. Because if you eat one of those, it's like I think they put sleeping pills in there too.
Really, too.
They put sleeping
Knock you out. You get the rightest.
Oh, that was good. I've never had roti, and
goodness.
everybody knows that my grandparents came to the United States from Jamaica, so everybody knows that I have a Jamaican derivation.
So let me go old school on you. So, Pastor, if you remember in Common Square, back in the old days, when my mother had the salon up there, and there was, remember, it was the Sharmet Bank
Yes,
up there?
yes.
The Sharmet Bank that used to get robbed like every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. But yeah, the Sharmet Bank was in Common Square. And next, a couple doors down, there was a Jamaican restaurant that had roti, and I used to get it when I was a kid. That's when Woolworths was still in Common Square. You know what I mean? But then, as in my teenage years, and I linked up with Trinidadian people and whatnot, the woman down the street from you now, right next to Dorchester Court, JP Roti is what it's
JP
called.
Roti. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So they the bomb.
They
I have
really
never
are.
tried Hopa, so if Hopa makes it, I don't think she does it regularly, so she must do it as a specialty, but I would love to try Hopa's as well. But yeah, and Ali's Roti is another good one as well. But yeah.
Yeah. That's the one on Blue Hill Ave?
Yeah, and then they also have one down there in the South End, if that one's still open. Next to Empire Insurance and all that over there in the South End, like on Tremont. If I'm
I used to
correct.
work at the hospital, Longwood Medical area over there, and Trinidadian woman. She was the one who actually introduced me to them. She made them, and she would bring them in. And oh my, it was just delicious. Way back. But that's how. I
But are you sure it's Longwood, or are you talking about back at University Hospital where we worked together?
You know what? It was after University Hospital. Interesting enough, Jamal, because you're right. We worked together. I started at University Hospital. That's how I kind of got into that whole thing as a unit coordinator. But from there, I actually another season of my life, I worked in the Longwood medical area at Deaconess, and a woman there was Trinidad, and she would bring them in and sell them to us for lunch, and then we just
Okay, well, if you remember, the reason I got the job was because of the Trinidadian woman at University Hospital, who to this day, I always feel so apologetic because, boy, did I screw that up. But, beautiful, wonderful, nice lady, big family. I don't want to say her name on the air, but she is the Roti lady.
Really?
So JP Roti, she is that lady, and she used to work at University Hospital. That's how I met you. She got me the job, which I promptly screwed up a year later.
Well, I want to push you from roti because after this broadcast,
Yeah.
I am going to Hoper's and I'm having lunch there. And I know what I want. I want my baked chicken, I want the rice and peas, and I want the salad, but I'm gonna get a roti. Can I eat both?
No, that's a lot in
That's
one meal.
too much food.
I mean,
You
in
think it's
one
too much
meal.
food?
well, not for you.
Ooh, go ahead. I mean, that's a lot of food.
That is a lot.
a roti by
Well, I mean,
itself.
and not for nothing. That's the good thing, though, because you could save it for later.
Yeah.
Wrap it up in that aluminum foil,
Yeah.
save it for later. You'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
And we got off on the roadie tangent because I love it, but I did call because I'd like to talk about something less delicious, which is the whole Jim Kelly and Dapper O'Neil thing.
Right. Let's bring that into the wider conversation. Also about what's happening at the Boston City Council. Tanya Anderson, really passionate comments, and Julia, that there are people who want to say, because I've talked to some people there and some white folk there, who are making it sound like this is the first time in history of the City Council that somebody stood up and made a very impassioned plea regarding something. And I just mentioned that Dapper O'Neil used to do it every time he was on the floor.
Sure.
So
What they're really saying, I mean, I hate to say it, but probably, the first time that a black woman has been as impassioned, because that's the thing that's different. Mm-hmm. A white man can do that.
Interesting.
And it's acceptable. But a black woman is not. We've never, and I'm sure it was a white man who's saying we've never seen this impassionate, but what they're really saying is we've never been in a situation where we had black women. Well, it's majority women who are on the city council right now.
Right.
Well, there was also times with Kelly and Yancey going at it.
Sure.
And it wasn't like, kumbaya.
No.
So it's not
and
as if this
to
is
your
new.
point, to your point, I vividly remember what happened with City Councilor Chuck Turner. Right. It was Yancey who told the white attorney, "You are wrong. This is illegal. You cannot do this."
Right.
And he was absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jamal, again, you worked at City Hall, so you've experienced, you've seen this with the councilors historically in the past, right?
I was there. I mean, so if you read the thing that I wrote, which initiated this whole Jim Kelly and Dapper O'Neil conversation, my testimony is that, I was there. And during the time that I was there, one of the superheated debates was one of the ones we're going through right now. And it was about the negotiation of the police and the firefighters' contracts. And this was the beginning of affirmative action and all this type of stuff. And the stuff that was going on in city council chambers then was much like what we've seen as of recent, but it was heated. And, I mean, people were like shoulder bumping and checking people in the hallway and this, and I'm just a young kid from Humboldt coming to work. And I'm like, man, I started bringing my knife to work. This is before they had metal detectors at City Hall. I was like, man, these big old white guys from the unions and the police and all, they're not going to back me up into a corner. So it was really a dicey and sketchy time. People were getting death threats, and the N-word was being flung around, mainly by the peanut gallery, if you will, the general public. But as I wrote in my testimony, I heard it used on at least 2 occasions in city council chambers by those city councilors. Right. On one occasion, it was Jim Kelly. Now we would call a hot mic situation. He said it. It was broadcast, during the city council chamber. Everybody heard it and was, shocked and stunned. I got up and went immediately to the little room in the back where they produced the TV. At that time it was all VCR, VHS tapes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I went back there and told the guy, who himself was a Jim Kelly, goon, if you will. I mean, that's how he got the job. He was known as one of Jim Kelly's guys, so he ran the TV thing. So when I went in there, I was like, I need that tape. And he looked up at me and he said, what tape? Wow. And he had his finger on the button while he was erasing it. Wow. Okay.
Well, so, Jamal, before you go on, I read the story in the newspaper when you were interviewed about this, and they asked you a question. Or they were either asked you a question or made a statement that if you keep pushing this or in pushing this, don't you know the city's going to be divided? Is that what was asked?
I mean, those are, so first of all, as you know how these stories go in the media. The Herald did a better job in telling the accurate version. The Herald did a worse job, but both had elements of the truth. If I keep pushing this, the city will be divided.
Right.
That assigns a lot of power to me in these ideas. Because,
Right.
of course, because before this, the city was never divided.
I was going to say, it's already divided. The council's divided.
The neighborhoods are divided.
It was divided when I was born. Okay?
Right.
So, I mean, this is what I'm saying. So, that is just a false equation there. So, no. This is actually pointing out one of the flaws that we have, which is pointing out a moment in cities division. And the reason that I even devised this whole idea is because I had been struggling. As you know, Kevin Peterson on this very station has called many times the renaming of Faneuil Hall. As you know, Siddiqui Cambone, who was a frequent person on this station as well, called for the renaming of Dudley to Nubian. Both cases which, I have examined and, I've gone back from lukewarm, whatever. If the people want it, great. Then I'm for the people. If majority of people say it's a great idea, then who am I to say no? Yeah. All right? But the thing is that with those things, we had to go 200 years back into the past to find a villain. And all I'm saying is, what did I say? We at least have VHS tape. Jim Kelly and them were well known. It's documented. It was in the newspapers. It was, there's still video of them being at these meetings and so on and so forth. So, Jim Kelly and Dapper O'Neil, to me, are two more salient and recent examples of some of the discord that we're talking about. And the last point before, y'all open it up or what have you, the last point is just clearly that this is not just racism. If you saw the Boston Globe, the article they recorded Jim Kelly as using the F word. Of course, I can't repeat it on here, but it's not the common swear word that we're talking about. It's the one that is towards gay people. Okay? And I was so surprised that they printed it out, spelling it all. They didn't do the N-word type of thing. They spelt out the whole thing. Yeah. So this is not just about the black community. These people were offensive to LGBTQ. These people were offensive to Asian people. I think Dapper was quoted as calling the Fields Corner kind of area Little Saigon. After the Puerto Rican Day Parade, Dapper was quoted as saying, "I wish we could arrest all these maggots." So, that is the only place where they did show diversity and equality, is that they hated everybody.
Well, let me ask Ron a question. Ron, when you were working for the governor, because Councilor Tanya Anderson played the tape,
right,
and the person was cussing her out and threatening her. Mm-hmm. Working for the governor, did people call you? Were you threatened because of your? Oh, yeah, you were threatened. But I'm going to ask you anyway. Were you threatened because you worked for the governor? Did you feel that people were coming after you?
Oh yeah, they not only threatened me. I was getting calls. I was being threatened. You're always under a microscope. Yeah. And you don't know who to trust. There were folks that would laugh in your face, and then next they'd be trying to set you up. So it's like, this is just a microcosm what happened with Tanya, what goes on, not only just in Boston, the state. It's constant battles, man, and you'd be surprised. And, Nika has said this on one broadcast about there's no real gangsters up in the State House. There's no real gangs. It's folks like hooking each other up, nepotism and so forth. It's just like people looking out for their community. What I will say, you had mentioned the fact that Dapper O'Neil had the highest vote getters. One of the things that Dapper did, Althea Garrison, others, they provide the most important thing as it relates to city councilors' responsibilities, and that is constituency services. And see, a lot of our new city councilors do not get that. And if you provide constituency services, you will be able to get votes. You will have people on your corner. They will support you. And I just wanted to make sure that we remind people of that.
And again, that people will support you. Dapper was known, I don't know if you know this, Jamal, Dapper was known as a person who would come to all the funerals in the black community that he could go to. Mm-hmm. He
went to everybody's funeral.
Right.
I was just going to bring that up.
Constituency services.
But also, too, literally constituent services.
Yes, right. Literally.
But now here goes the thing. That also marks to the fact that, let's say Dapper had lived another 10 years, another 15 years or whatever. Yeah. He could not have continued to get reelected because his own base was dying out.
They were dying.
Right.
And see, and it's the same thing, like, if we think back in church, when I came up and all the elders I remember in the 70s and the 80s, many of them have already gone home to the Lord, right?
Yeah.
So it ain't what it used to be. And the same thing in politics. He would not have been able to win because he did rely heavily on the elderly community, the senior community, the veteran community. And yes, the few black people that he did like and care for, or have respect for, he may have showed up there, but it was primarily he was known for going to those families' funerals and what those areas, and that itself spoke to the dying of a base.
Yeah,
These people were dinosaurs and would not have been able to make the transition. Now look at it. Flaherty is the young whippersnapper,
right?
And he's old. But Flaherty is the young guy of that ilk. So the Flahertys, the Nick Collins, the Frank Bakers, the Ed Flynns, they themselves, who are certainly grown men, they are these are not young kids by any stretch, right?
But how do you think, how all of you, how do you think Ed Flynn is managing these hearings? Because some of these hearings have gotten out of control,
right?
And the ones I watched last night, he said, if there's any other statement coming from over here, we're going to excuse everybody. But he's not strong in doing it. He doesn't inject the fear or respect of the people. They just keep running over him. Do you think that his leadership is causing some of the problem? Anybody?
I'll just say, I don't know all the details, but I'll say this as it relates to, lost my train of thought. As it relates to him with Felix Arroyo, removing him from the head of the redistricting process, right?
Ricardo.
What did I say?
You said Felix.
Oh, thank you, Ricardo.
Let's go.
No, Ricardo Arroyo. So in that situation, I think the leadership was a poor mistake. That was a mistake and a poor choice, because we are, and to Tanya Anderson Fernandez's point, we are guilty until proven innocent. Whatever, these allegations, whatever, but to remove him from that while you figure out, particularly while he was already in the midst of redistricting,
right?
I think was not a wise move. I'm curious to hear Jamal's perspective.
Yeah, I actually disagree.
Okay.
So whether the scandal was true or not, when something like that comes out, it becomes a distraction, particularly when you're in the middle of, working on, let's call it a project of this magnitude. So, put it like this. If it would have happened to me, and a scandal like that would have came out about me, I would have stepped down. Nobody would have had to tell me to resign. I would have willingly stepped down and said, while this is going on, I don't think it's wise for me to serve as the chair of this committee because everybody's going to be focused on this other thing, but obviously
that would have been the smart move to do.
Yeah, well, I've been called smart before. And some of these people, I don't know what they're thinking, but to me, literally, honesty is the best policy. And, Reverend Pastor Hobbs, right, there's a thing in the Bible that talks about everything that's done in darkness is going to come to light.
Right.
So my strategy is, if there's a rumor or something, hit it straight ahead, because particularly now in the age of social media, somebody got a text, a picture, there's a video camera. Listen, you're not getting away with nothing no more. So you might as well just talk about what happened and, do it. And I think that a lot of people, by running away and trying to cover things up, they do themselves more of a disservice than handling it straightforward.
I'm in agreement with you, but to me, it's two different things. I'm not talking about Ricardo. The question was asked with regard to Ed Flynn. with regard to him and the leadership and pulling him from that position as the chair. That's what I was speaking to. And again,
oh no, I agree with the decision. I would have asked him to resign, which I think happened, and he said no. And then, okay, if you won't resign gracefully, then as Rasta say, I have to remove ya.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the details, but I think that if I was in that situation, I would resign.
Again.
Yeah, and I know it's a different situation.
Again, no. The thing is, if you resign, that's one thing. But for someone to take the position from you.
But what I'm saying is also that he may have went to him.
I don't know that.
See, we don't know all the details.
I don't know that. But just from a perspective of the outside
clearly,
looking
so
in.
the argument is that people use that to dissolve the power base and screw up redistricting. So I could only logically argue against that to say, well, did it? So he wasn't the chair, and his ideas still rose to the top, and basically his plan, along with Councilor Breeden and whatever they agreed on, was still the prevalent plan, correct? So,
yeah, but I also think because this was brought to the attention of the public, making it an issue that he did this because it was racial, dealing with the power base, that helped it.
Absolutely.
I really believe
And there was a lot of tension around those maps
Right.
to the point, and it has to do with power.
Right.
That's what the ultimate thing has to do with people, Frank Baker and some other folks who were really concerned about, as a result of the redistricting now, this young brother who's going to be running for District 3, where I happen to live. Frank Baker is my city council, right? I live in District 3. And so he's virtually been unopposed because the people who actually vote in that area, that's why he was really adamant that he did not want those lines redrawn. In fact, I think said something to the degree of, white people don't matter.
Right. Well, also we need to point out the fact that there are more blacks and Latinos on the city councilor, so the whole situation has changed.
Correct.
From the way it was before.
Correct. I said that earlier. Not to mention so to say for the statement that we've never seen this kind of tension or outrage in the city council. You've never had this situation. First of all, that you've got black women or women of color who are the majority of the city council.
Well, my point is that now that the blacks and Latinos can outvote those that were in power before.
Okay. True.
So people are feeling intimidated.
Of course.
Yeah. So
we
got
that power.
And we have a big election coming up.
Ron, as a basketball player, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes y'all play a game, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the best game ever. Everybody is doing their thing like they're supposed to be doing, right?
Right.
And it's a smooth game. And you win. You beat the other team by 20 points. Everybody feels great. Man, we executed everything. Great. It was wonderful, whatever. There are also other times when you play sloppy ball, right?
Right.
But somehow, nothing's going right, but somehow you get it together and you still get out a win, right?
Right.
You get back in the locker room and you be like, wow, we won that game, but boy, was we sloppy, man. We messed up over here. And All I'm going to say right now is that I believe some of our elected officials are playing sloppy ball. So they might still be able to put up a score here and there or, be competitive in the game, maybe even win a few things. But the things are not firing right. And the point guard ain't getting it to the center the way that they should, and not swinging it out to the shooting guard and the forward, and so the way that things are moving, like right now, any progress that we've made is almost by the grace of God and by luck. It's certainly not because people are executing with these masterful plans and we're working together on things that are important to us, and that's to me what I would love to see more. Coordinated efforts that are around specific, targeted goals. If you were the education people, bam, tackle the education problem.
Focus on that.
If you were the finance, economic people, bam, you tackle that. But we need to have, your cousin Chip has one of the best names of an organization ever, Greatest Minds. We need to collect our greatest minds, our best thinkers, and put it together to develop this master plan and screw all the naysayers and the ego pursuers. And we already know we have to have, I mean, once again, there's so many examples in the Bible of this.
Right.
Where are we going to find the 10 amongst the city?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Before we are destroyed. Can we get just 10? Can we get 10? Lord, if we get 10.
Just 10.
Just 10.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I'd like to do. You can stay on, Jamal. I want to play Tanya's statement, and I want to try to analyze what she was saying. It's clear what she was saying, but in the context of this discussion, is this moving the ball forward? Is the ball? I used to play sports, so that's why I use.
What sport did you play?
That's why I use all these sports analogies.
Okay.
Jamal was using sports analogies.
He sounded like he knew what he was talking about.
I was a TBC Crusader.
Okay.
That's a basketball team.
Pastor Wall used to play ball back when the ball was a rock.
I knew
With the Flintstones. With the Flintstones. He was that black guy in the Flintstones.
Jamal, are you as Howie Carr would say? I forgot.
Why are you quoting Howie Carr?
Howie Carr would say.
See, he can't remember. See, that's what you get. You're quoting the wrong person.
Let's go to Tanya.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that Jamal was old enough to remember the Flintstones. Yeah, he's getting up there.
Jamal's my age.
He is? What is that, 44? Here we go. Tanya Anderson.
Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor President Flynn. I'm going to make it really plain because over the past, I think, month or so, we've all been going through it, and you see all the fights on Twitter or the media or, the different articles back and forth. And so the community thinks that the council is racially divided. And now I'm going to speak on behalf of my constituents. The community has reported to me, and the majority of community leaders have reported to me in my district, that the white councilors here have somehow figured out a way and taken advantage of an opportunity to take redistricting and give it to a white councilor. The fear is that, and this is, again, reporting out, the fear is that because some people are afraid that their district will change and diversify, like Council Baker's district, that people will run for office and that person will be a person of color. And so everyone is now super afraid that because Councilor Braden, a white woman, has it, that now that this body, because councilors, for example, all the white councilors here stick together, that they will vote or try to move the districts in a way that is not diverse sufficiently to be able to vote in electives of color. We have fought for a very long time. It is 2022. We're going back and forth about allegations, but here, people are not innocent until proven guilty. People are guilty first. People are crucified. People are lynched. Same old tricks, same masters though. And still, people, now everything's changed and everybody's upset. Everybody is boiling up. People are calling me and telling me, don't say anything, stay in your lane, be quiet, sit down, you will lose your seat, they won't vote for you, fight, don't fight. What in order to get respect as a black woman? And I'm going to tell you, I'm not afraid of losing the votes. I'm not afraid of the seat. I'm not afraid of anybody here. This is the message that I got.
Don't forget this country is built with white people, sustained by white people. you don't like it, why don't you back to your with your scarf on your head?
This is what I get. I get about 3 or 4 of them in my office. I have 2 sons. I've made mistakes, and once I learned it, I corrected immediately because I made a stupid mistake. Because I brought people that were loyal to me. I had 6 staff. As of yesterday, I have 4. That is clear for everyone to understand. When I make a mistake, I will be clear. I don't hate you as a white woman. I don't hate you as a white man. I am sick and tired of this body so stupidly racially divided, so afraid, so depraved. People with no faith. Because they are afraid of they're losing their advancement. They're afraid of bargaining. They're afraid of leveraging. These people have, oh my God, I can't even call you cowards because desperation deserves mercy. Desperation deserves mercy. We've all hurt each other here. There are allegations, for crying out loud. Let the court decide. Fine. You don't agree. You don't like him. I think he's cocky. But I think there's good in him. And until I see proof, I say let the courts decide. But here's a redistricting. Fine. We give it to a white woman. Can we all get along? Can we get together? Can we love each other now? Can we make sure that black and brown babies don't die? Can we make sure that cops don't kill before people are proven innocent? Can we do that? No. Because this body crucifies you first because of allegations. This is not a court. You don't get to crucify people before they're proven guilty. They're innocent until proven guilty. Now, after this, I will look forward to working with you because I have stamina. I believe, as Baldwin said, what you do, not what you say. Your votes here sometimes are racist. You move sometimes in a way that hurts my people. And then when I get up to stand up and talk, all she talks about is black stuff.
As you should.
I am here to represent every single black woman and man that suffers in the community. I am not afraid to not be elected again. God has my back. I am not afraid to not have political aside or any type of affiliations or connections. I came here, I fear none, no man but my Lord. I came here to serve people. I came here to love. I came here to grow. But people talk about this racial equity thing. It's all fake. And you do politics and you hurt each other. And yet, here I am, a 5-foot-tall African woman from the projects. And I'm here to tell you, if the voters don't vote me back, I am here for my people. The redistricting thing, that's a very sour thing. The whole way that this has been handled, Ed, you know I love you. You know I care about you. But that was wrong. The way this was done was wrong. It's not about believing or not believing. It's about believing in the Constitution and doing the right thing and following the law. And this was not right. Don't be afraid of losing your position. Don't be afraid. A believer does not compromise their advancement with sexuality, with money, with drugs. This world is nothing. We are nothing. This world is only a prison to those who don't believe and those who lead their lives like this.
Wow. That was City Councilor Tanya Anderson speaking very passionately and directly as to what she felt was happening at the Boston City Council. There's a lot to unpack here, And I have seen this video. I just played the audio on TikTok, but not just the one that someone sent me. There are multiple TikTok videos from around the world. Some people supporting
Of this speech?
Of the speech.
Oh,
With
okay.
all kinds of graphics and people who support the speech and people who were attacking her. But this has gone all over the place. And bloggers are using it as a part of their programs. So, again, what she said, was she speaking truth? Did it need to be said? Did Charles Yancey speak this clearly regarding the division in the council? Ron, you've had Councilor Anderson on your broadcast a couple of times. So is this your first time hearing the whole speech?
This is my first time. I actually was working on a campaign, and all I heard is that she was cussing in the chambers. I didn't hear the full speech. And to be quite frank, when you speak up, you get attacked. And there's a lot in that speech that is correct. It's a lot of it. The way it probably was handled could have been different. But I don't know. When you're in that moment, you are human. We make mistakes. And I mean, I think with the language, it was something that was not appropriate. But at the same time, people react different ways because of emotions. But it's interesting. And when you're in that position of being called out, I mean, calling names like that was kind of like, wow. I was a little bit surprised at that, calling each counselor by name. But she was very direct in her delivery. So, it could go either way. But I do believe that if she was speaking on behalf of her constituents, and they were portraying that message to her, communicating that message, she has a right to at least bring that up.
Yeah, it's a lot. Pastor Hobbs, you've heard the actual unedited speech, and you've heard my edited.
The edited.
The only thing I took out were the swears.
Okay. So it was a whole bunch of swears?
She the F-bomb twice.
Okay.
But the person who sent her, that made that phone call to her, he was swearing all in there. And I had to take those out.
Right.
Pastor Hobbs?
I mean, I think a lot of what she said is absolutely true. And racism is real. And the fact that people, and called specifically, as it relates to this redistricting process that is really important. It's about power. I believe she was on point in terms of being able to say that we need to speak to and challenge people's fear of, challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard. Again, Charles Yancey has stood by himself at times and spoken about these inequities, but this was the first time that the council has had people, black folk, speak like this, and be able to create an ordinance or win a vote because the black folk are in majority. Black and brown folk are in majority, so it's different. And one other thing I noticed, a number of at that hearing, you need to see the entire hearing,
okay?
Because you need to hear the other black folk and the other brown folk, and you need to hear what the white counselors were saying. The only counselor who did not speak during that entire session was Michael Flaherty. He was the only one that remained silent. Jamal, you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, several. So let me first start off with, I really love Sister Tanya, and I address it like that because before city councilor, right? Just as a person, this is a good sister and all that. Now, in our conversations, and I think she would publicly acknowledge as well, she's also not perfect, nor does she claim to be, right? So this is a sister in herself who is now sitting in this position, coming into her own, who is now faced with certain realities like, we all know racism is bad, right? But then when you're in a position of a city councilor or, rep or senator or whatever, all of a sudden now it's magnified. Nobody was specifically singling you out in, Facebook land or Twitterverse or whatever it was before you achieved this particular hot seat, right? So now she's experiencing all this pressure, all this pushback, so on and so forth. Okay. So, obviously, what she said was very impassioned, and in fact, that's the only critique I'm going to say about it. You have to know your audience. And in this regard, I think that she and we, the community, would have been better served had she delivered that with laser-like precision, almost like a lawyer or a diplomat going before the United Nations, and removed certain levels of the emotion and certainly the language which I use. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying this wasn't the right place and time, and I think the message would have still went global, taking a strong stance against white supremacy, racism, all the microaggressions, everything. Everything that she said was basically on point. The only flaw in it, and this is what happens when there is a flaw in it, then it can detract from the message overall. The only thing I would take out of it is some of the emotion and the passion that led to the use of some unfortunate language. But if she had delivered that like a lawyer or a professor or, in that manner, a more scholarly and academic manner, that's like when they jump off that triple beam and land perfectly, bang, and they just land it, 10.0.
Yeah.
She would have been right on it.
Yeah, and if you watch that entire council hearing, a majority of the people who did speak were scripted. She was upset. She was going to play that audio of the threat against her, and I thought that was on her mind. There was a lot on her mind, and Frank Baker had spoken before her, and he was, some of the things that he says and how he says it, unscripted. It doesn't frighten me, but it concerns me that he would make certain statements, and you've got to listen to the entire hearing. Now, I want to just do one more thing, though. I want to just to position her passion, no notes, right from her head. She was from her head, and I knew that was going to happen. That all those things that happened were going to happen because she was emotional. The emotion was driving it. It wasn't. It wasn't like, as Jamal was saying, a laser perfect. I'm going in here. I know what I'm going to do. Maybe she might have an opportunity.
Well, see, that's why it's important that you get scripted. You need to be scripted in these roles because you're passionate about a certain issue, because you're emotional about certain things. You get off script, and then that one thing you do wrong, that's the only thing people are going to remember. And see, to Jamal's point, you had mentioned about the council, the people, the elected colors, counselors are sloppy. I think a lot of it's they're not prepared.
That's not just city council, though. I'm including all electeds.
Yeah.
Clear.
Well, we're talking about city council now. Okay, I got you. But you know what I mean? They're not prepared to deal with government. Campaigning is different. When you're in them roles, your whole persona has to change. You don't change who you are, but you can't be out here acting as if you're on the street. So I think that, what she said is true. The delivery should have been a lot more, scripted.
And also, too, let me say this in her defense. In terms of some of the things that I've seen from some of the electeds, a wide swath, from Twitter comments that they've made and videos I've seen of them and whatnot, this, by far, if anything, her use of vulgarities, I think she used them twice, actually it shows her level of frustration because she's not normally prone to that type of language either.
Right.
As opposed to some people who do have what my grandmother would have said, a potty mouth.
Yes.
And I come from that generation where they really was washing your mouth out with ivory soap, Jack.
Yeah.
Okay. So, some of them generally have a decorum on Twitter or whatever social media, whatever, that is very free form. She is really not one of them. You know, maybe due to her religion, due to her culture, whatever it is, she is generally much more reserved. So I chalk this up, and also too, I look at things a lot differently. But this is for her not the norm. This is a deviation from the norm, and I think characteristic of the level of frustration that she was feeling at the time.
Yeah. Okay, let me just go to one more. We have time for one more, and this is only 3 minutes. Let's listen to Julia Mejia and listen to her comments. I got to make sure I do this correctly. All right, here is Julia.
Do better. One of the Twitter followers says, do any of you think that Boston City Councilor Julia Mejia exhibits characteristics of someone who has a cocaine addiction? Another person says that my look has changed dramatically over the last 3 years, and post a picture of the way that I looked when I first ran in 2019, and has noticeably bags under her eyes that weren't there before. Folks on Twitter are utilizing this platform to body shame me, to make it seem as though my health issues are related to the use of drugs. For those who are wondering if I am using drugs, the answer is absolutely not. In 2018, after being in the weight loss diabetes program at the Boston Medical Center, I lost my battle to diabetes and high blood pressure. And my doctor said that the only way to reverse my conditions was to go through the gastric bypass surgery. And I lost almost half of my body, but I reclaimed my health. Now, I'm an elected official, and I understand that this is par for the course. So this is not about me. The things that you have seen in the comments make me wonder how people who are struggling with addiction may feel. With people who have gone through this life-saving operation, how do they feel about the way their body and their face and their whole composure changes as a result of a dramatic surgery like this? I don't even smoke pot. But yet, this is what white supremacists do. They tell lies and hope that you will believe them. That if for those who are experiencing issues of addiction, it is my hope that people will be kind and compassionate. I hope that if I was truly struggling with an addiction, that people would not
Fernandez-Anderson.
That was Julia Mejia reacting. She was reacting to a blogger who was making, and others making accusations against her, saying that she was using cocaine, and this all had to deal with she was in a car with somebody. Allegedly the police stopped her.
I still hear audio in my ear.
Gone. But the police stopped her allegedly and gave her a pass. This is what I'm hearing, and allowed her to go on about her business. And so she responded to what was said by creating this video and speaking to, from her perspective, what truly happened. Did you folks see the story in both newspapers? Do you have any thoughts? We have, unfortunately, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I saw it, and I just, I hope it's not true. But certainly all things done in darkness are going to come to light. So, what have you. I hope healing and safety and all that for everybody. But at the same time, too, I'm also for truth and justice. So wherever that lands, sorry. And the video did not address at all the real allegations. It addressed some of the Twitter critique and, poking fun at her. But it didn't address what you just said, the alleged stopping of the vehicle, towing of a vehicle, whatever, and Twitter is on fire. So yeah, that's tough.
Pass with 49 seconds.
Yeah, well, basically, I think we should continue this in the next broadcast, at least a portion of it, because I think it's important. I did speak to the counselor, and she did, explain to me what happened, and I believe her. And one of the things I will say is that when you're going through something, a health crisis, things happen to you. That happened to me, and I was accused of some things, and it's not a good feeling. And let's not be quick to rush to judgment.
Okay, we'll come back on the other hour. We'll do another 30 minutes of that, and then I'll do the last segment. Jamal, you can hang on if you paid your bill, and they'll let you hang on.
My bill is paid, sir.
Church in New England. The views and opinions expressed by the following paid program are those of the